There's a bright golden haze in the meadow, bright golden haze in the meadow. Corn is as high as an elephant's eye. Looks like it might climb clear up to the sky. Oh, what a beautiful morning. What a wonderful day. I've got a beautiful feeling. Everything's going my way. Now the cattle are standing like statues. The cattle are standing like statues. Don't turn their heads as they see me ride by. But one little brown maverick is winking her eye and said, oh, what a beautiful morning. What a wonderful day. I've got a beautiful feeling. Everything's going my way. My way. The sounds of the earth are like music. The sounds of the earth are like music. The breeze is as busy. Don't miss a tree. But one little weeping willow is laughing at me and said, oh, what a beautiful morning. What a wonderful day. I've got a beautiful feeling. Everything's going my, ooh, everything's going my way. Yeah, everything's going my way.
Let us listen for the Spirit, the one who moves in mystery and grace. Please stand and join in singing the community song. Let us pray. O God, in this hour, And in this place, may our souls hear and see the voice of wisdom, of the Spirit speaking and giving gesture in every moment through the words spoken and the music played and the presence of us all who are gathered here in this chapel. Amen. K through 5, Roots and Wings aged children can meet with Mrs. Stevenson, Mrs. Cook, and special guest musician Mr. Cook. They are right back there. Yeah, hand of applause for Mr. Cook. There's a special song and film fest today at Roots and Wings, and so I'm going over with them right after these announcements. Please take a moment and say hi to one another. Namaste for those who prefer. You know, as much as we like to say, stay to yourselves, you all like to connect, give hugs, and handshakes. So you're on your own. Let's give a round of applause for Don Sternberg and Steve Rashid bringing music this morning. And Ken and Elliot, who are always in the mix, making it sound good and playing. Yeah. If you are new or newish to the community church, there is a green book at the back opened. If you'd put your information in there, we will send you the information that's happening in this community. And here's a few of those things. Bocce last night, there were champions crowned. And those champions were Laura and Mike Flynn, Dave Brush, and Daryl Bloom. And I understand that Laura Flynn, in a tiebreaker overtime, outgunned Tom DICKELMAN. Is that true, Tom? Yeah. I think he said it was bogus. John Corrigan got the measurements wrong? I don't know. Is that what you said? Bogus? Let's see. Oh, focus. Focus. Misheard. I misheard again. Next week, right here in the chapel, Afterlife Agnostic is the title of the sermon, and Christina Trulio and Bob Hasty, two musicians that are always a treat. Dr. Tom DICKELMAN preaching. I want to draw your attention to the newsletter. If you'd like to go and find a Lenten practice, 40 Days of Peace. It's a blog written by Eleanor Janata. Go there, click on the link. It's too long for me to say now. But if you get the newsletter, if you don't get the newsletter, come talk to me or put your name in the green book, and we will get you that newsletter info. There is a haiku workshop that I want people to know about, and I'm mentioning it about a month and a half in advance so you can plan. May 2nd through the 3rd. If you ever were nervous about meditating in silence, this is a great sort of practice of meditation that is not so still, but it's observing and it's in nature. And Steve Kennedy, who's leading the workshop, is excellent. He's coming from Denver. If you have interest in that, email me. My information's on the bulletin today. And the 2020 high school group summer work trip is happening, Traverse City, Habitat for Humanity. So look for more information on that. If you are a parent or a high school student, you're interested in that, contact me, Zach Hancock. And lastly, thanks to Jennifer and Jim Randolph for treats and greets and flowers. Yeah. And now, please stand and join in singing the hymn printed in your bulletin.
Please be seated.
Now is the time for all good men to get together with one another. Iron out the problems and iron out the quarrels and try to live as brothers. Try to find a peace within without stepping on one another. And to respect the women of the world, just remember that we all had mothers. Make this land a better land in the world in which we live. And help each man be a better man with the kindness that you give. I know we can make it. I know darn well we can work it out. Yes, we can. I know we can. Yes, we can. Why can't we if we want to? No, we can make it work. I know we can make it if we try. Yes, we can. I know we can. Yes, we can. Great gosh almighty. Take care of the children of the world. They're our strongest hope for the future, the little bitty boys and girls. And make this land in a better land, a world in which we live. And help each man be a better man with the kindness that we give. I know we can make it. I know darn well we can work it out. Yes, we can. I know we can. Yes, we can. Why can't we if we wanna? I know we can make it work. I know we can make it if we try. Yes, we can. I know we can. Yes, we can. Great gosh almighty.
An announcement why we get organized. Last week, if you were here, I mentioned that I told the story of Christo Brand. And Christo Brand was a gentleman that we spent some time with in South Africa. And when Christo was 18 years old, didn't want to go into the Army, and so they assigned him to the Robben Island prison, which is offshore Cape Town. And the first prisoner that he was assigned was Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela was 60 years old, black. Christo Brand, white, 18 years old. Despite the fact that he was just 18, he held all the power as a white man and as a prison guard. Yet what Christo Brand did is treat Nelson Mandela with respect and love. He treated him as a neighbor, as Sally mentioned, that we're all called to do. Fast forward 27 years, Nelson Mandela gets out of prison. A few years later, unbelievably, he becomes the president of South Africa. And just before the inauguration, Christo Brand gets a call from Nelson Mandela and says, you know, I want you and your family to be at the inauguration. But more than that, beyond that, I want you and your family to sit with my family in the presidential box. And so Nelson Mandela also encouraged Christo Brand at the end of his life to write a book because he said the world needed to hear this story of the relationship of over 40 years of two men so different, but who had a common bond of respect for one another. Well, the great news is I just received an email this morning that Christo Brand, on the Sunday after Easter, will be speaking here in the chapel. He's going to be in the United States, and so we're going to bring him to Lake Forest for a couple days. Also, the night before, on Saturday night, we'll be having a combined men's and women's dinner at the Gorton Community Center, and Christo will be our speaker for that. So keep your eyes on the newsletter, because we'll be announcing more information on how to sign up for the dinner, as well as more info on when he's here. So something very much to look forward to. May we pause for a moment of prayer. Almighty God, may the words of my mouth and the meditations of all our hearts be acceptable in your sight, for Lord, you are the rock of our lives, and you are our Redeemer. Amen. I begin with words from Romans chapter 8. It is sort of the bottom line scripture passage for me in all the New or Old Testament. Paul's words read like this: "No, in all these things we are more than conquerors through he who loves us. For I am convinced that neither death nor life, nor angels nor demons, neither things present, past, or in the future, neither height nor depth, nor anything else in all creation can ever separate us from the love of God." Amen. So it's a rare day when the Avett brothers don't sing to me in my pickup truck. They are my hands-down favorite band in all the world, and one of their songs, 10,000 Words, came through Spotify and the speakers into my truck cab. I thought to myself a few days ago, wait, this is kind of what I'm talking about on Sunday. And the refrain of that tune, 10,000 Words, goes like this: "Ain't it like most people? I'm no different. They love to talk on things they don't know about. Ain't it like most people? I'm no different. They love to talk on things they don't know about." It all began when I recently reread portions of Rob Bell's bestseller, Love Wins, where he tells a story of two women sharing a church pew one Sunday morning. Following the minister's sermon, both women are in tears. Why? Because the pastor, who was a poster child for cluelessly confident clergy, is certain he's got the inside scoop on who goes to heaven and who does not. And he shares that insider information in his Sunday sermon. So why the tears? One woman, in hearing the pastor's news on who gets into heaven and who does not, experiences tears of joy that just flow from her at the very thought, because she could be reunited with her sister who tragically had died 17 years earlier in an automobile accident. She thinks to herself, thank God she was a Christian. We can be together again someday in heaven. Sharing the pew a few feet away is also a woman in tears, but her tears are of a much different kind. You see, she suddenly realized that based on what the minister had shared, that heaven is only for Christians, meant that she'll never again see her father or her mother. She'll never be reunited with her deceased brother or many dear friends, because at the time of their death, they weren't Christians. All had lived their lives outside the world of faith. According to the preacher, at that Sunday morning worship, there was no way in hell of a reunion. Following the church service, her eyes still swollen, her heart still aching, that second woman waited patiently to speak with the pastor, who in typically gregarious manner was holding court in the back of the sanctuary. When finally given the chance to speak with him, she took a deep breath. She summoned the courage to ask if what he had said from the pulpit was really true. That because her deceased loved ones were not card-carrying Christians, that she'll never again be able to see them in the divine afterlife. That there's no chance that they're with God in heaven. The preacher, offering no compassion, but instead an awkwardly enthusiastic smile, looks at her, and his reply was this: yes, that's true. You'll never see them again, but it won't matter because you'll be so happy worshiping God in heaven. He knows for sure not only who goes to heaven, but what happens there? Ain't it like most people? I'm no different. They love to talk on things they don't know about. That preacher's reply to that woman makes this preacher's blood boil. If I had witnessed the encounter Bell describes, I most certainly would have vociferously interjected, "What are you saying? How dare you play God and claim to know for certain everything about something you've never experienced? How dare you so audaciously turn that woman's world inside out and upside down, all because you choose to worship a controlling God of wrath and judgment rather than a generous God of grace and love?" Sadly, the story reflects sometimes how it is in the world of religion and faith, where maybe well-intentioned but cluelessly confident clergy take life's most challenging existential questions like, what happens when we leave this earth? And who's invited to the heavenly banquet? And what's the afterlife like? And despite no firsthand knowledge or experience, act like an overzealous young stockbroker who's absolutely certain what the market's going to do, when the truth is, for everyone, it's something of a guessing game. What I appreciate about Bell's book, Love Wins, is that it's not laden with ecclesiastical arrogance, which our church already has in spades. It doesn't offer easy answers to life's most toilsome questions. It instead tackles head-on the most challenging spiritual issues of life and death that many of you have already faced, you're currently facing, and if you haven't, you will face. So, for a couple of moments this morning, I'm going to challenge you to think about what happens when we, as I like to say, transition to new life. Partly because it's the Lenten season, when we think about things such as this, but primarily because it's one of the most important conversations that you will ever have with yourself. And knowing at least where you stand on what happens beyond this life is frankly less about how you die later and far more about how you and I live right now. So here's a story that Bell shares. I've told it once before at church. At his church, outside Grand Rapids, the Mars Hill Church, Bell had been preaching about peace and peacemaking for a number of weeks. And artists in that congregation and community were invited to display paintings and sculptures and poems and other kinds of artwork that reflected their understanding of what it meant to be a peacemaker in our world. One woman had included in her work a quote from Mahatma Gandhi, which a number of people found compelling, but not everyone. You see, someone had attached a lime green sticky note to her artwork. On it was written, "Reality check. Gandhi's in hell." Really? Question bell? Gandhi's in hell? He is? We have confirmation of this? Somebody knows that without a doubt? And that somebody decided to take responsibility to let the rest of us know? Ain't it like most people? I'm no different. We love to talk on things we don't know about. What do you say? What do you think? What does your faith, what does your heart tell you? Is Mahatma Gandhi in hell? Is Gandhi not admitted inside the exclusive, pearly gated community of heaven? Because he wasn't a card-carrying Christian? Or more in the direction I lean, is there a place beyond this life where Gandhi is the beneficiary, as are all of us, of a God whose love is reflected in that hymn we tried to sing this morning, "There's a wideness in God's mercy"? The Gandhi story is but an hors d'oeuvre preceding this feast of questions about life beyond this life in Bell's book. He wonders, of the billions of people ever created on this earth, will only a select number, a relative handful, ever get to a better place? Does that mean that every other person suffers anguish and torment in hell forever? And is that how God wants it? How God designed it to be? Can we really still call a God at the helm of a world like that a loving God? Oh, and does that loving God punish people for thousands of years with infinite eternal torment in hell for the things they did during a few finite years of life? For the stupid decision we made when we were 19 years old? For some of the less than divine behaviors that's in every one of our rearview mirrors? Or because we did not accept Jesus as it's outlined in the church membership book? Does that mean we don't qualify for life beyond this life? Of course, the really big question is this: how do you and I get to be one of those select few who goes to heaven? Is it through baptism? Do we have to be born again? Do we have to accept Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior? Is it through a personal relationship, which you and I all know people who say you got to have a personal relationship with Jesus to get to heaven, but I've never seen that phrase in the Bible. Or is it as simple as just asking Jesus into your heart? And from that point, you're golden for the afterlife, like it's some kind of eternal life insurance policy. But are you still good? You still qualify for heaven if you become a real creep? If you're the kind of person who makes counterfeit tickets to Cubs games and sells them on the street to kids? Is your ticket to heaven still good? What if you were converted, as they tried to do to me in the 1970s when I was in high school at Saranac Village Young Life Camp in upstate New York? highly charged environment? Does it count if you're saved when you're under emotional duress? And what's the age of accountability? When are we responsible for what we do to get to the next life? Do we get a pass if we're only 12 when we transition? And at what stage do we get tried like an adult? I'll pose just one more thought on this whole question of heaven. Have you ever noticed, and I'm sure you have, that there are some people who make faith all about not this life right here, right now that God blessed us with, but all about preparing to go to the next life? Like the acquaintance who asked me recently, Tom, tell me about your eternal faith, which is spiritual code for, is your faith all about making sure you qualify for the next life? And if you're curious, it's not. Friends, if you're a bit confused, if you're overwhelmed by all these questions, and at the risk of becoming one of the preachers that I disdain, one more person who loves to talk on things they don't know about, I'm not going to try and claim to share the truth, but I would be remiss if I didn't share the truth that I've come to know, which is a blend. It's a blend of Bible and being. It's a blend of Scripture and silence. And maybe this is the wrong example, but it's like a really good single malt. It's just taken a lot of time. The bottom line for me is what I read at the beginning, Romans chapter 8. Nothing, not things in the past, those things that we've done that we regret with all our hearts. Not how we're living right now. Nothing in the future. There isn't anything that can ever happen that can separate us from the love of God. Nothing separates us from the love of God, even if you're not a card-carrying Christian. Nothing separates the love that God has for Gandhi because he was a Hindu. And even if you're a creep who sells counterfeit Cubs tickets to kids on the street corner this summer, there's a place of love in God's heart for that person. I close with this. And one of the benefits of being on the South Africa trip for which we returned, it gives me as a minister a pretty good chance to be with the 26 other people on the trip. It gives them the opportunity, the opportunity to get to know them. It gives them the opportunity to give me plenty of feedback. That's my diplomatic way of saying it. And there was one couple that said, you know, Tom, sometimes when you get to the end of your sermon, you say in closing, but then you blab on and on and on. And so I told them that periodically I would let them know. And so here's the 2-minute red flag for that family. We're almost there. On Friday morning, I was with a young woman and her husband. They were mentioned this morning, Jen Hall, Marshall, and her husband, Sam. And the day before, she had given birth to a child named Mason, who was wildly anticipated. And let me ask all of you, do you think that there is anything that will ever cause Jen and Sam to stop loving that child? Nope. What about when the child interrupts their sleep every single night for the next 6 months? The love is still there. What about when they go broke buying diapers and paying for child care? That love remains. What about when Mason's a teen and he doesn't always make good choices? They still love him. What about if that child one day acts like the prodigal son and thoughtlessly tries to extract some money from his mom and dad, acting even as if they're no longer alive? They're still going to love him. You parents know this, that there is nothing a child will ever do because you as your parent to stop loving them. And that's how it is with our divine parent. As Paul says, in life and in death, nothing ever separates us from that love of God. And whatever happens beyond this life for us comes to us as a gift. Friends, think about what God's inescapable love really means. But not so much for when we die. Think about what God's inescapable love means for us right here, right now. Amen. Friends, we'll take a moment to pass the hats as we are blessed with another song. Thank you so much for the support you provide our ministry. Woman seated in the church pew, and she is so excited because if she became a person of faith, then she knew she'd be able to see her deceased sister again in heaven. You know what? I get that, because that way of thinking about faith in God is whatever drew me into the world of faith in the first place. When my young father died, I started going to church and doing the God thing and becoming a Christian. It was a chance for me to be with him again. So I absolutely get that. I do. But what's also true is that for me, faith has evolved to become something that's not just about what happens someday when we transition to new life. It's about the kind of life that we're blessed to live right here and right now. The great news is this: no matter where you find yourself on that continuum, or even if you're outside the building completely, know this: there's not anything that would ever cause us to not be loved by God. Remember that and go in peace. And the people said, Amen.
Fold up the tables, stack the chairs. Folks are lined up all down the stairs. The boys are smoking on the loading dock. The band's gonna hit about 8 o'clock. It's Friday night at the Armory. They'll be drinking drinks, throwing dice, placing bets. Jimmy's wailing on a saxophone and the dancers start to sweat. Dressing up and stepping out, gonna raise the roof, gonna jump and shout. It's Friday night at the Armory. Well, Jimmy looks like a movie star, looks like a chic. When he starts to blow that horn, makes all the dancers go weak. So drive on out Highway 23, park on the grass and dance for free. It's Friday night at the Armory. Take it, Donnie. It's like some crazy world, it's wild like a dream. Everybody flying high till it all busts at the seam. We'll pack them in till we overflow. This might end bad, but what a way to go. It's Friday night at the Armory. Yeah, everybody get to do their thing, but don't give Betty the mic 'cause she can't sing. It's Friday night at the Armory. We'll be rocking and rolling until the break of dawn. Hey, ain't that Floyd out on the lawn? What are you doing out there? Friday night. It's Friday night. Oh, it's Friday night at the Armory. Not a shot was fired.